from the National Affairs Desk. Presented by Gonzo Today. www.gonzotoday.com. The weird have just turned pro.
Pick a heart. Please don't break my pick a heart. Pick a heart. Please don't break my pick a heart.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Gonzo Today's Memos from the National Affairs Desk. I'm your host, Dr. Jeffurious Higgason. We're going to take some time during this episode here and talk about the new Religious Freedom Restoration Act, in which became law in Indiana over the last week. On Thursday, Indiana Republican Governor Mike Pence signed into law the Indiana Religious Freedom Restoration Act, also known as RFRA. Opponents of the laws say the law sets up possible instances of legal discrimination against gays, especially in cases of public and private business. Basically, the law allows businesses and individuals, mainly of Christian belief, to deny LGBT people service under the guise of religious freedom. Because if it's one thing that Jesus taught, it was exclusion. But it's not just gays that could be potentially targeted for discrimination. You've got Muslims or Jews or those goth kids and your emos and the hippies or smelly people or anyone who doesn't fall under the business owners' narrow standards of what they consider decency. I mean, what about lepers? Surely we got some lepers kicking around still somewhere out there, right? Shall we now remember our proverbs? Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Those who stand behind RFRA claim the law does not open the door to random religious discrimination. They say it merely protects citizens whose sensibilities may not have progressed since 1951. Or, I mean, it protects those who wish to not fraternize with the dirty, unwashed heathens. Right? Pat Miller from WOWO-TV in Fort Wayne, Indiana said in a YouTube video that it limits what government can do to an individual, mainly business owners here, who decide to refrain from doing business or providing services for others who do not adhere to the individual's particular religious beliefs. Although Governor Mike Pence has repeatedly stated this law does not give license to discriminate, it appears to this reporter this law, while not officially issuing licenses to discriminate, will protect discrimination as long as a religious point of view opposing alternative lifestyles is the purpose behind the exclusion. Every interview that I have read, watched, or heard with Governor Mike Pence, he dances around the questions continuously, spouting this gibberish in something about licenses to discriminate. I watched George Stephanopoulos on ABC, and the governor would not answer yes or no to a yes or no question of whether or not a business can now legally refuse business to someone who is gay. George asked that question at least 3 times. Each time he received the same predetermined answer about people having a license to discriminate. And the whole situation has brought up scores of what-if questions, what-if stories, some of which I admit are a bit outlandish, and some, I don't know, or I would consider them to be a viable question. Here's one. If a gay man is severely injured in a car accident and one of the EMTs realizes that the man is gay and decides to refuse to help him, let's hope this never happens, okay? But would that EMT be protected under this law? I mean, the name itself, Religious Freedom Restoration Act, that's something to take a look at. First of all, I want to know, where did all the religious freedom go in the first place so that it could come back and be restored? They have a way with words, they do. Yeah, and who can deny they haven't seen some moronic conservative in a frenzy of moral relativism go on about the loss of their religious freedoms while their party squashes and fucks over poor people as a matter of everyday business? What about the shit they talk on Fox News? Look, I'm no fancy millionaire news anchor, but it occurs to me that their religious freedom is firmly intact, and it's there to protect these assholes when they run down what they call special interest groups, or gays and blacks, as they call them off camera. Surprise, right? Another surprise you may or may not know is that 40% of U.S. states have something similar to Indiana, as does the federal government. The federal RFRA was signed by President Clinton in 1993, and it shares languages with Indiana and other states' bills prohibiting the government from substantially burdening individuals' exercise of religion unless it's for compelling government interest, and in doing so is the least restrictive means. And that's at the federal level. 19 other states also hold the power of the law behind arbitrary notions of bigotry. The Arkansas Senate overwhelmingly approved on Friday a Republican-backed bill whose authors say is intended to protect religious freedoms, but critics contend could allow the businesses to refuse service to gay people. Arkansas has called their act the Interstate Commerce Improvement Act, hoping to slide it on in. But people read. People find things out. And if you're out and about this summer, driving around, you want to see those other states with the religious freedom laws, hey, stop on by Alabama or Arizona, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Idaho, Illinois, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia. Oh, hike. Don't let them fool you, though. Indiana could never be smart enough to come up with a plan like this on its own. We're looking at you, Illinois. As of Saturday, Governor Mike Pence has expressed that he was interested in pushing forward additional legislation to clarify Indiana's Religious Freedom Act. But he also said that adding sexual orientation to the state's protected class was not on his agenda.
Indiana is the crossroads of America, home to the Indianapolis Colts, the Indy 500, the world-class cities of Indianapolis and Bloomington, and that Hoosier hospitality that makes everyone welcome, especially bigots. Whether you're a family of bigots, a couple of bigots, or just an individual bigot, you can explore Indiana Dunes State Park, tour the covered bridges of Park County, and shame and humiliate people who are different from you to your heart's content. Indiana, it's a great place to be a bigot. Paid for by the Indiana Board of Terrible People.
So with all these other states sharing similar legislation, why is Indiana the only one catching all the bullshit? Could it be that the federal government and all the other states that have this law in the books, Indiana is the only state that does not include sexual orientation as a protected class? Could it be a sign that the populace is getting sick of this kind of malarkey? If the law isn't designed to perpetrate discrimination, why is it even a law? Why would they take the time and go through all this pageantry? For those familiar with the art of gambling, does it feel like someone's hedging a bet? Perhaps this is more proof of the divergence in human consciousness. Stuart Wilde would tell you that this is an example of champions of the old world consciousness and their desperation to maintain control over a world that is no longer theirs. You know, as a matter of fact, I can't wait till some of these rich elitist fuckers board that spaceship to Mars. Good. Fuck them. Maybe all of us will finally be able to get something done while they're off colonizing a planet they're really not supposed to be on, right? Well, we hope you enjoyed this edition of Gonzo Today's Memos from the National Affairs Desk. I've been your host, Dr. Jeffurious Higgason. Be sure to check us out on the web at gonzotoday.com or over at Facebook and also over at Twitter. And also don't forget about Gonzo Fest 2015 coming up on April 11th. If you go down there, you'll probably see some of the Gonzo Today folks kind of wandering about the streets, you know, creating magic and happiness as they walk along. How you like that, huh? How you like that? And if you need some more information on Gonzo Fest, get on your computer or your tablet or however you get to the internet. Look up www.gonzofestlu.com. That'll have all kinds of information about the events going on that day. Also, how you can get your tickets. Gonzo Today's Memos from the National Affairs Desk. Copyright 2015.
The news you have just heard was a digest of Press Association dispatches. Further details will be found in your newspapers.